All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're tackling Friedrich Nietzsche, more specifically, his take on suffering and resilience. You might be surprised by what we find.
Yeah, Nietzsche, he gets a bad rap,
Yeah.
Pessimistic, all doom and gloom. But his ideas, they're a lot more complex than that. Even empowering, I'd say.
Definitely. We're using this video essay as our guide today. It's from True Freedom on YouTube, called Embracing the Storm Within, Nietzsche's Path to Greatness, Philosophy of Resilience. And get this, it says, Nietzsche didn't see suffering as something to avoid, but as a path to greatness.
Exactly. To really get that, it helps to know a bit about Nietzsche's life. I mean, the guy went through a lot. Chronic illness, isolation, loss, all of it. These weren't just concepts for him, they were his life.
So it makes sense his philosophy deals with suffering, but to say he saw it as, like, a good thing, that's kind of hard to wrap your head around, right? Most people think the goal is to suffer less, not more.
True, and that's where I think people miss the point with Nietzsche. He wasn't saying go out and find pain. It's more like, think of a tree in a windstorm. It grows stronger roots, right? It becomes more resilient. Nietzsche believed that facing challenges could make us stronger too.
Okay, I get the tree thing, but doesn't that romanticize suffering? I mean, some pain is just bad, right? It doesn't make you stronger.
For sure. It's not about saying suffering is good or something. But Nietzsche's point was that challenges can transform us. He used this metaphor of coal turning into a diamond under pressure. It's pretty powerful, right?
Wow, yeah. So he's saying we should, put ourselves in pressure cooker situations to improve.
Not exactly. It's more that hardship, it's inevitable. We can try to avoid it, sure. But Nietzsche's saying we can also choose to learn from it, to let it make us stronger. He called this Amor Fati, loving your fate.
Amor Fati, huh? That's always been a tricky one. Doesn't that mean just accepting whatever happens, good or bad?
No, it's not passive. Amor Fati is about embracing everything, the good and the bad, the ups and the downs. It's recognizing that even the hard parts of life shape who we are.
So how does that work in real life? What does this embracing your fate thing actually look like? The video used some intense examples, like Viktor Frankl. He found meaning in the Holocaust, which is, incredible.
Frankl's story is amazing, right?
Yeah.
It shows just how resilient people can be. Even in the worst imaginable situation, he chose his attitude. He found purpose. That's what Nietzsche meant by Amor Fati. Not just accepting things, but actively engaging with them.
But not everyone's Viktor Frankl. I mean, his story is almost superhuman, Are we all supposed to be that strong in the face of anything?
No, of course not. Frankl's experience was extreme. But the principle applies in everyday life, too. Think about those small moments when you push through a setback or you find a new way to look at a problem. That's Amor Fati in action, too.
Okay, that makes it a bit more relatable, yeah. I'm still wrapping my head around actively embracing suffering, though. Isn't there a danger of, getting too focused on pain or even seeking it out?
It's a good question. And that's where Nietzsche's critique of modern society comes in. He thought that always chasing comfort and pleasure makes us weaker, less able to handle hardship when it comes.
So by avoiding discomfort all the time, we're actually making ourselves more fragile.
That's what Nietzsche argued, yeah. He said that by numbing ourselves to pain, we also numb ourselves to growth. Think about it. If you avoid every tough conversation, every difficult task, how can you ever really become resilient?
Yeah, good point. We all shrink back from challenge. But if Nietzsche's right, maybe even those moments of avoidance, they're opportunities too. The challenge is seeing those patterns and making a different choice.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so Nietzsche's not saying we should love pain. It's more that suffering is just part of life, and maybe we can learn to deal with it differently.
Exactly. Maybe we can change how we see it, how we relate to it.
But how? I mean, it's easy to say Amor Fati, but what does that look like in real life? How do we go from being scared of hard things to actually embracing them?
Well, the video had some suggestions. One that stood out to me was just sitting with your discomfort, not getting lost in it, but being curious about it.
Oh, it sounds so hard. When things get rough, I just want to distract myself, Watch TV, scroll on my phone, anything but actually feel those feelings.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common these days. There's always something to distract us. But Nietzsche would say that all that numbing that makes us miss out on chances to grow.
So instead of reaching for my phone, I should just sit there and feel bad?
Well, not exactly bad. More like just be present with whatever you're feeling. Notice the tension, the thoughts, the sadness, the frustration. Don't try to push it away or fix it right away. Just observe it.
But what's the point of that? Wouldn't it just make me feel worse?
Not necessarily. Remember the coal and diamond thing. Sometimes those tough emotions, it can help us find hidden strengths, new perspectives. We might even come up with creative solutions we wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
So it's not about wanting pain, but about seeing that it can teach us something.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the toughest lessons are the most important ones.
The video also mentioned writing a letter to your future self as a way to process those emotions.
Oh, that's a good one. Imagine just pouring it all out on paper, all your worries, fears, hopes, anger, everything. And then later on, maybe months or years later, You read that letter again. You see how much you've grown.
It's like proof that you've been through hard stuff before and you got through it.
Right. It builds that belief in yourself, in your own resilience. It's not about being superhuman or never struggling. It's about knowing you can face those challenges with a little more courage and a little less fear.
You know, all this talk about embracing struggle, it feels kind of backward. Our whole culture is obsessed with happiness, with avoiding anything unpleasant.
Yeah, and Nietzsche was really critical of that. He thought all this chasing after comfort and pleasure, it actually makes us weaker, like a society that can't handle any hardship.
So he's saying that by trying to avoid pain all the time, we're making ourselves more fragile in the long run?
That's what he argued, yeah. He thought that by facing challenges, by pushing our limits, we become stronger, more resourceful, better able to deal with life's ups and downs.
But wouldn't that make for a pretty bleak world? Who wants to live in a society that celebrates suffering?
He wasn't saying we should celebrate it. He was saying it's there, it's part of life. And maybe instead of always running from it, we can learn from it. Remember, Nietzsche wasn't just a pessimist. He believed people could be great, that we could overcome challenges and find meaning even when things are hard.
So what would that look like in today's world? Are we supposed to encourage people to go out and find painful experiences?
No, not at all. It's not about seeking out pain. It's about building a culture that values resilience, where challenges are seen as opportunities, not things to be afraid of.
So instead of aiming for everyone to be happy and comfortable all the time, we should help people develop the skills and the mindset to deal with the hard times when they come.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to face their challenges, knowing that even in those tough experiences, there's potential for something amazing.
This is making me think a lot. It's like Nietzsche's is giving us a whole new way to think about not just personal growth, but how society could be different too.
It all comes back to this idea that how we deal with suffering really shapes who we are. We can let it break us, or we can let it make us stronger, more resilient, more alive.
That's powerful. It brings us back to Amor Fati, not as just accepting whatever happens, but as choosing to embrace all of it.
Right. And Nietzsche believed that choice, that willingness to embrace our fate, even the hard parts, is where real strength and greatness come from.
It's like he's saying that the path to a good life isn't about avoiding the storms, but about learning to dance in the rain.
I love that. That really captures Nietzsche's message, that even in the darkness, in the struggle, there's potential for something truly extraordinary.
You know, thinking about this Amor Fati thing, it makes me wonder, like, what if it applies to more than just individuals? What about society as a whole? Like, if we try to avoid discomfort all the time, create this world without struggle, are we missing something?
Yeah, that's what Nietzsche was worried about. He thought a society that's obsessed with comfort and safety, it becomes weak, decadent. He saw those struggles, those moments of friction as necessary, like essential for growth, for innovation, even for developing compassion.
So it's like he's saying some struggle is actually good for us as a society, that by overcoming those challenges, we build a stronger community. But isn't that kind of, harsh? Shouldn't we be trying to reduce suffering, not encourage it?
Of course, we should try to prevent unnecessary suffering, yeah. But Nietzsche's point is more complicated. He wasn't saying we should go create problems. It's more like he was saying hardships, they're just part of life for everyone, not just individuals. And maybe instead of always trying to protect ourselves from them, we can see them as chances to grow, to come up with new ideas, to build a better, stronger society.
So instead of trying to create a perfect world where everyone's always happy and comfortable, we should be focusing on building a society that can handle tough stuff, that can adapt and learn from hard times.
Exactly. It's not about happiness being the end goal. It's about resilience, about being resourceful, about learning from our experiences, even the difficult ones.
It's funny, right? We usually celebrate success and try to hide our struggles, but maybe there's something powerful in embracing those challenges, in sharing our stories of resilience.
I think so, yeah. There's something really real, really authentic about acknowledging those struggles. And when we share those stories, it gives other people permission to do the same. It creates a culture where hardship is just part of being human, not something to be ashamed of.
This whole deep dive has really made me think differently about discomfort and challenge. I think we often see them as like setback, things to avoid. But Nietzsche's view is so different. He sees them as chances to grow, to be creative, to understand ourselves and the world better.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. It's not about seeking out suffering. It's about changing how we see it. It's about recognizing the potential in those challenges. It's about embracing all of life, the good and the bad, the happy and the sad, and understanding that all of it can lead to something amazing.
It's like that quote, I think it's Nietzsche, what doesn't kill me makes me strong. But maybe it's not just about strength. Maybe it's about compassion, about understanding, about becoming more human.
Well said. I think that's a great message for our listeners. Embrace the challenges. Don't be afraid of them. You never know. Those tough times, they might lead to your greatest strength, your deepest empathy, your most meaningful contributions to the world.
What a great way to wrap up our deep dive into Nietzsche. Hopefully this conversation has sparked something for you, our listener. Maybe a new way to think about suffering, a deeper appreciation for resilience, maybe even a desire to learn more about Nietzsche and all this. Remember, this journey of learning and growing, it's a lifelong thing. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing those storms.